Ever get that feeling? You're trying out some new gadget or software, and it's like they're trying to make it as confusing as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're going to flip that script and dive into the idea that the best innovations are often the simplest ones.
Sounds intriguing.
We've got two great articles by Anthony J. James all about the power of simplicity, and we'll be pulling in some extra insights from the Innovation Daily newsletter, too.
Okay.
You know how everyone's always talking about the next big thing, and it always seems to involve more features, more complexity, more bells and whistles.
Right.
But what if going back to basics is actually the key to unlocking truly groundbreaking innovation?
That's a really interesting thought.
It's like that famous Leonardo da Vinci quote, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication," you know?
Yeah, I've heard that one.
But how do we actually apply that in a world that just seems to get more and more complex every day?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's
Yeah.
exactly what Anthony J. James is tackling in these articles.
Yeah, he's basically saying that achieving true simplicity, it's not just about stripping things down to the bare minimum.
Right.
It's about really understanding the core essence of what you're trying to achieve.
And making those tough choices about what to keep and what to cut.
Exactly. So it's not just about aesthetics. It's about a fundamental shift in thinking.
Absolutely.
It's like, remember when WhatsApp first came out?
Yeah.
It was just a messaging app, nothing fancy.
Right. Just a simple way to communicate.
And look how it exploded. It became this global phenomenon.
It's true. People loved it.
I remember some people were saying it was too basic at first. You
Yeah.
know, it didn't have all the features of its competitors.
Yeah, there was some of that. But I think WhatsApp's success really proves that sometimes focusing on a core function and making it super easy to use can be more powerful than having a million bells and whistles that no one knows how to use.
Yeah, it's like they tapped into this fundamental human need for connection and
Yeah.
made it so simple and intuitive. So
Yeah.
maybe sometimes less really is more.
It's counterintuitive. But I think Anthony J. James is onto something.
He makes this really compelling argument that simplicity actually amplifies impact.
Right.
And he lays out 4 key benefits of simplicity in innovation: customer experience, efficiency, scalability, and even emotional connection.
Those are some pretty big claims.
They are, but let's break them down.
Okay.
Let's start with customer experience. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that a product that's easy to understand and use is going to be more appealing to customers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no one wants to spend hours trying to figure out how to use something.
It's like when you download a new app
Yeah.
and it's so cluttered with features that you don't even know where to start.
Totally. And then you end up just deleting it.
Right. So it's about removing those barriers to entry, making things intuitive and enjoyable to use.
Like Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify's a great example. They've made accessing millions of songs so incredibly straightforward.
Right. And that's a big part of why they're so successful.
Okay, so that's customer experience.
Yeah.
What about efficiency? How does simplicity lead to greater efficiency?
Well, think about it. When you eliminate unnecessary steps in a process or in a design,
Mm-hmm.
you save time and resources.
Makes sense.
It's like when you're trying to do something online and you have to click through 5 different pages and fill out a million forms,
It's the worst.
right? It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's a complete waste of time.
So streamlining those processes and getting rid of unnecessary clutter, that can really boost efficiency.
Exactly. And a perfect example of this is IKEA.
IKEA? Really?
Yeah, think about it. Their whole business model is built on simplicity.
Okay. Yeah, I guess their flat pack furniture is pretty ingenious.
Right. It's not just about cost savings. It's about streamlining the entire process, from manufacturing to shipping to assembly.
It's funny because even though you have to put the furniture together yourself, there's something kind of satisfying about it.
That's true. There's a sense of accomplishment.
So maybe there's a link between simplicity and that emotional connection too.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, let's talk about scalability.
Okay, so scalability. How does simplicity make things easier to scale?
Well, a simple solution is generally easier to adapt and replicate.
Right, right.
So if something is easy to understand and implement, it's more likely to catch on and spread quickly.
Like Zoom.
Yes, Zoom's a perfect example.
Right.
They basically became the go-to video conferencing platform during the pandemic.
I know, I was using it all the time.
Right. And a big part of their success was their simplicity.
It was just so easy to use, even for people who weren't tech savvy.
Exactly. And that allowed them to scale at an incredible rate.
Okay. So we've covered customer experience, efficiency, and scalability. But what about this emotional connection piece? I'm curious, how does simplicity create an emotional connection with users?
I think it has to do with creating a sense of calm and clarity.
Okay.
When something is simple and easy to use, we feel less overwhelmed, less stressed.
Makes sense.
Think about Apple products.
Yeah, they're known for their sleek, minimalist design.
Right. And that design evokes a certain feeling.
It's like a sense of sophistication and elegance.
Exactly. It's not just about functionality. It's about creating an experience.
And that experience can have a real emotional impact.
Absolutely. And another example of this is Stripe.
Stripe, the payment processing company.
Yeah, they're known for making online payments incredibly easy for businesses.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've heard of them.
They basically created a system that simplified a really complex process.
So instead of having to build their own complicated payment systems, businesses could just plug into Stripe's platform.
Exactly. And that made things so much easier for everyone involved.
Okay, so all these examples, they really paint a compelling picture of the power of simplicity.
Right. That's pretty convincing.
But then the question becomes, if it's so beneficial, why do so many companies struggle with it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And Anthony J. James actually addresses that in his articles.
So what's the deal? Why is simplicity so hard to achieve?
Well, there are a few reasons.
Mm.
And one of the biggest ones is fear.
Fear.
Yeah, fear of losing users by removing features. Companies are often afraid that if they make their products too simple, they'll alienate users who want more options.
So it's like they're trying to please everyone.
Right. And that can lead to feature bloat, which ultimately makes the product more complex and less user-friendly.
It's like that saying, trying to please everyone ends up pleasing no one.
Exactly. And another obstacle is this misconception that complexity equals sophistication.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely seen that.
There's this pressure to make things seem high-tech and complicated, even if it's not necessary.
It's like wearing complexity as a badge of honor.
Right? Like, look how advanced our product is.
Yeah.
But in reality, it just makes it harder for people to use.
So maybe it's time to ditch that mindset and embrace the elegance of simplicity.
I think so.
Now, I'm curious, what are some practical steps we can take to actually break free from this complexity trap and embrace simplicity in our work?
Well, Anthony J. James has some great advice on that.
Oh, yeah. What does he suggest?
He outlines a 4-step process that can help us simplify without oversimplifying.
Intriguing. Let's hear it.
Okay, so the first step is to start with the user.
Okay.
It's about really understanding their needs and pain points, not just what you think they want.
So it's about empathy.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you actually go about doing that effectively?
It involves a lot of listening and observing, putting yourself in the user's shoes.
Okay, so it's about going deeper than just surface-level assumptions.
Exactly. And once you have a solid understanding of the user, the next step is relentlessly refining.
Relentlessly refine. Okay, I like it.
It means constantly questioning every element of your design, your process, your messaging.
Asking yourself, is this truly necessary? Does it add value for the user?
Exactly. It's about being ruthless in your pursuit of simplicity.
That sounds tough.
It can be, but it's essential.
Because every element you add introduces complexity.
Right. So you need to be very selective about what you include.
So it's not just about cutting things for the sake of cutting.
Right. It's about being strategic and intentional.
Making sure that everything you keep serves a clear purpose.
Exactly. And then once you've refined your design or process, the next step is to test for clarity.
Oh yeah, testing is crucial.
It is, if your user can't immediately understand what your product does or how to use it, you haven't achieved true simplicity.
It's like that instant aha moment where everything just clicks.
Right.
So this testing phase involves getting feedback from real users, observing how they interact with your product.
And making adjustments based on their input.
So it's an iterative process.
It is. You're constantly refining and testing until you achieve that level of clarity and ease of use.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's the final step in this process?
The final step is to focus on the core problem.
Focus on the core problem.
Yes. As Anthony J. James puts it, it's better to solve one problem brilliantly than to address many poorly.
Okay, I like that.